What is going on, guys? We are back for another week of Pokemon Top 5. Now, this week we'll be covering the grass typing. Unfortunately, the grass typing is one of the weaker typings in Pokemon. I believe it is resisted by about 7 typings offensively and is tied for the most amount of weaknesses of any individual type. So, unfortunately, this type is held back a little bit by its coverage, but I think I got some powerful Pokemon for you today. Pokemon that I like based off of designs, stats, move pools, combination of things. It's not really anything in particular. Of course, they're all my opinion. So, of course, if you guys have a different top 5 list than me, make sure to leave it in the comment section down below. And I would love to see that list. And of course, if you're really enjoying the series, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our other top 5s or anything else on the channel that we do. But without further ado, little disclaimer, obviously, we only do primary typings and pure typings in our top 5s. I do plan on doing a separate list with legendaries, so there will be no legendaries on this week's list. But other than that, let's get right into our number 5. Alright, so at number 5 we have Amoonguss. Now, Amoonguss is one of the staples of VGC competitive Pokemon, one of the staples of Pokemon doubles as a whole. Despite its stats, this Pokemon is able to just supersede what anyone really thought this Pokemon was capable of doing. Has the highest HP stat of any non-legendary poison type. And surprisingly, despite being a defensive staple, has higher attack stats in both of its attack stats than either one of its defenses. But this Pokemon obviously has Regenerator, so it's able to heal up whenever it switches out, and has a move pool that normally consists of Mega Drain or Giga Drain, allowing it to heal itself up even further. But what this thing really specializes in is its ability to have 100% Spore, which is a move that will automatically put you to sleep. So over any other Pokemon, it's going to have an advantage putting Pokemon to sleep. Has Rage Powder in doubles, which allows you to kind of like force your opponent to attack you. And Clear Smog, which actually is a damaging poison type move that also removes all stat bonuses and negatives to your opponent's Pokemon that you hit. So you have Pokemon that sets up, right, has a Swords Dance, you know, or something like that, and you're able to clear Smog it away. And so they made all that work, all that mileage into improving theirself, and you just stop them right in their tracks. So Amoonguss obviously competitively is quite strong. It's also considered like a Trick Room counter for teams that don't have Trick Room. So it's kind of versatile that way. But this Pokemon for me, obviously on the list for its competitiveness, I think it is the GOAT. It is one of the GOATs of VGC, and so it was hard to leave this thing off the list. Obviously design-wise, it's nothing really special. It's supposed to look like a Pokeball. Its shiny form is also supposed to kind of represent a Mega or a Master Ball. But yeah, I mean, other than that, this Pokemon is here strictly for its competitive nature. But without further ado, let us hop into number 4. Alright, so at number 4 we have Leafeon, which is one of my favorite evolutions. I think design-wise, they absolutely knocked this out the park. I mean, if you couldn't merge like grass and like an Eevee better, right? So, but to me, this thing is an absolute monster. Despite the fact that it isn't really the greatest competitively. I mean, anytime that you can get over 100 attack and have almost 100 speed on a Pokemon, you're a threat. You're a threat immediately when you come in. And this thing also has a crazy high physical defense stat, 130 physical defense. So kind of making up for its lack of defensive ability as a typing by just having a really good physical defense. So you can kind of switch in on something and then you really get to hit back hard and fast. This thing also gets Swords Dance, which even lets it even get higher and can baton pass that to the next Pokemon, which is kind of a unique thing that the evolutions can do. But really, this thing does, like most evolutions, doesn't have a great move pool, so you're really just relying on Leaf Blade and then maybe like Quick Attack, which is a pretty weak priority move. But all in all, I mean, this Pokemon, I just really enjoy it. It's a cool design. Despite the fact that it's not really anything that's going to blow you away, it's definitely something you have to respect, and I think that's kind of my style of Pokemon, right? Like, I don't need the super flashy, amazing Pokemon. Like, I want just a really good Pokemon that does what I want it to do. And so for me, it just, the way that I feel when I have it on one of my teams, or the way that I feel when I'm playing with it, just really fits me. So that's why it's number 4 on my list this week. But let's move on to number 3. Alright, so at number 3 we have Tsareena, the fruit, the queen of fruit Pokemon, basically. Obviously, she is one of the newer Pokemon that's been revealed in these newer games. She has Queenly Majesty as a unique ability to her, which doesn't allow any priority moves to hit her. So despite the fact she's not actually that fast, which was actually a pretty common thing for most of Generation 7 Pokemon, one of the weaknesses is now taken away by nothing being able to outspeed with priority. So, but this thing has a ton of different moves. It's kind of one of those weird Pokemon that it's too fast for Trick Room, but too slow to be really considered anything that you could like put a Choice Scarf on and be effective. So it kind of falls in this really weird spot where it's a grass type, which doesn't give it a lot of coverage, a defensive backbone, doesn't have a great HP stat, but it has like decent defenses on both sides. And then it really just relies on a 120 attack stat to just blow things away in one hit after it takes a hit. So unfortunately, this Pokemon, you're probably going to switch it in on something that you resist, hit something hard, and then get out, or let it, or sack it, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is, right? But I just really like the design. Like, this design is actually really, really cool. You know, obviously it kind of fits the kind of a different narrative for some people, but for me, obviously it's super diverse move pool. U-turn, high jump kick, acrobatics, teeter dance, aromatherapy, drop kick, power whip, play rough, zen headbutt. It gets both screens, I believe, as well. Like, it is just a Pokemon that just can do a ton of things. It just really needs to be in a position to do it. But if you can get this thing set up, I mean, this thing is awesome. I think I used this when I played through Sun and Moon my first time through. So, which was before I ever started YouTube or anything. So, I had fun using it, and even despite the fact that it wasn't really like the most dangerous thing ever, like, you set it up and you put it in a position, like, it can rock somebody. So that's why I like this Pokemon. And let's move on to number 2. Alright, so at number 2, I think this thing was the most obvious thing that I could have put on a list, but we have Venusaur at number 2. Obviously one of the OG Kanto starters, one of the most iconic Pokemon in the game. Rocking Chlorophyll, so it can be a fast attacker in the sun competitively. Pretty decent stats around the board, right? I mean, it has 80 in 4 stats and 100 in the other 2. And then when it Mega Evolves, it has like 120 in both of its, it has 120 in both defenses. So, I mean, this thing is an absolute wall that can hit like a truck when it wants to. And so, for me, I just really always have loved the whole Bulbasaur line. Even for me as a kid, right? Like, I chose Bulbasaur in partly because of the anime when I was a kid. I just really, really liked Bulbasaur's personality versus the other ones in the anime, and I just kind of followed it into my game. And ultimately, Bulbasaur ended up proving to be, I think statistically, it actually is the best starter to choose in Kanto now. It can heal itself up. It still attacks hard. It has good defenses on both sides. It's not the fastest, but it's fast enough. You know what I mean? So, I mean, this Pokemon just, it does a very specific niche role competitively, but it does it super well. It has the role of being this bulky offensive tank that's trying to hit you with Giga Drain, healing up while it's attacking you, Sludge Bomb, you know, Leech Seed. Oh, that is my alarm. My bad. But yeah, so you have like a Leech Seed, Synthesis, or like a Sleep Powder. on like a defensive set, and then when it wants to like be in the sun and just be a sun sweeper, it then goes for like solar beam, weather ball, and like synthesis or sleep powder, and it just obliterates people. So I think this Pokemon, obviously, it can do two very dramatically different roles and do them well, on top of the fact that, you know, it's just so iconic. And so I've always loved this Pokemon, but let us move on to number 1. Alright, so at number 1 we have Rillaboom. Now this Pokemon I have absolutely loved since the Sword and Shield game has come out. Obviously, besides the fact that it's just the sickest design for a monkey that we have seen in the games. Grassy Surge, it can set up its own terrain, which obviously has so many benefits for grass types that really need it, right? Like, and then on top of that, it gets its own like move, Grassy Slide, which gives it's a 90 base power attack move that gets priority in grassy terrain. And obviously anything that can set terrain and then use something off of that is just a really good combination. But it gets Swords Dance, Knock Off, Fake Out, Superpower, U-Turn. I mean, this thing is made for competitive Pokemon. And with the 125 attack stat, like, it's doing that. You know, so I think for me, like, this Pokemon, obviously design-wise, it's absolutely sick. It's a monster offensively. There was really no other spot on this list for me. I went back and forth between Venusaur and Rillaboom, but ultimately, I just felt that I had no other choice but to put Rillaboom here. Just with the amount of respect that I had for it competitively. So, but yeah, that's our top 5 this week. Make sure to leave your top 5 in the comment section down below. Hit subscribe if you want to make sure that you don't miss any of our other top 5s. And with that, I'm gonna get up out of here, but I will see you guys in the next one.